Antonin Artaud.
Antonin Artaud. Thank you, Google. Hi everyone, welcome back to another video from Dramatik, and today we will be exploring one of the most interesting person in theatre called Antonin Artaud, and of course his dark creation, the Theatre of Cruelty. Let's start with 10 facts about Antonin. He was born in France in 1896 and lived until 1948. Antonin was born sick as a very young child with spinal meningitis, which meant that he spent the majority of his childhood in isolation. And at age 16, he had his first depressive breakdown. At 21, he was diagnosed with hereditary syphilis, and he was prescribed at the time a very strong narcotic painkiller called laudanum, which started his lifelong dependency on opiates. Antonin traveled to Mexico and had this whole experimentation with peyote.
What is in there, ass?
Peyote.
Then he traveled to Ireland, but he was quickly put in a straitjacket because he threatened to harm himself, which meant that the authorities had to quickly deport him back to France. He also acquired this special cane where he believed was holy, and he really tried to look for its creators, but however that ended with some kind of altercation and beef with the police. As if that's not crazy enough, when World War II came about, he basically spent the majority of his time in different hospitals and psychiatric wards where he was subjected to electroshock treatments. In 1948, he was diagnosed with cancer, which led to him dying at age 51. And that meant out of 51 years, he spent 15 years in different institutions like hospitals and psychiatric wards. So obviously Antonin has led a very dark, deep and rich life, which kind of makes sense when we think about the theatre form that he created. So let's jump into what is Theatre of Cruelty. We must first understand what Antonin meant by the word cruelty. Does that mean that he punishes his audience in his performance? No, but yes.
I get punished. Punish me, Daddy. Oh.
According to him, it's a beneficial kind of punishment because Antonin believes that you have to be cruel first in order to be kind.
You think punishment will set you free?
He's basically a proponent of this very famous phrase, the truth will hurt you, but it will also set you free.
Your own mind will. It will seek the truth, and the truth will set you free.
So in this kind of theatre style, his aim is to expose the ugliness and evilness that exists in this world, both man-made and natural, and to allow the audience to face it, experience it, so that at the end, they would feel relieved. A little bit like going to sleep, having a horrible nightmare, and then waking up and being like, so you learn a new appreciation of the day-to-day. And this is where Antonin really amazed me. He definitely sees theatre as a form of natural and necessary spiritual ritual that humans do, because through theatre we are able to spiritually cleanse ourselves and give us this peace of mind, which in my opinion is very true. This guy is a freaking genius. We are talking about performances that really reach for the two extremities of the human condition. So the dreams and the anxieties of us, puts them on stage and expresses them not with words but with very violent use of lighting, sound and gestures. Moving on to how and why it came about. Our boy Antonin was actually inspired by Oriental theatre, in particular Balinese theatre, which is a combination of song, dance and pantomime. Antonin believes that Oriental theatre has become masters of a language called pure theatre, a type of theatre that focuses not on dialogue but instead on movement, space, gestures, and mime. He writes that all true feeling is in reality untranslatable. So to express a feeling is to betray it, but to translate it is to dissimulate it. That is why an image, an allegory, a figure that masks what it would reveal have more significance for the spirit than the lucidities of speech and its analytics. In this way, he is a big critique of Western playwrights because he believes believes that all they do is use words to talk about their thoughts and opinions. However, Oriental theatre, according to him, actually is able to ask the audience to think in a very complex manner because they use gestures, movement, space, and sound. So talking about what Theatre of Cruelty looks like, some of its key characteristics, starting with acting and characterization. Actors are actually openly encouraged to use their emotions, and there is often no emphasis on individual characters in the performance, so a lot of the times they would use masks, and they also prefer to dismiss modern types of costumes, employing clothing used for ancient rituals. Next, talking about language and dialogue. So there is obviously a reduced emphasis on the spoken word communication via text, and instead there is a focus on gesture, movement, space, sound, lighting. And not only that, sometimes some of these performances go so far as to be semi-improvisational, so a lot of the performance of emotions were actually very truthful and raw. Next, talking about movement and gesture, a lot of the movements were actually very stylized and ritualistic, where movement and dance would be used to create violent and disturbing images on stage. Talking about stagecraft, they would use a lot of lights that were very, very bright and violent and flashy. A lot of the times it was very colorful as well, and sound was often very loud, piercing, and hypnotizing as well. So everything was all in the creation of making things very violent. Most uniquely, when we're talking about the stage and the audience performer relationship, you are talking about having an intimate relationship between the actor and audience in Theatre of Cruelty, and this is to promote a sense of community and group experience when they're watching the performance. So often you would not see an auditorium or stage, but instead they would create a single playing space with no barriers between the audience and the actors. So guys, that is all for today. I really hope that you found value in this video. If you did, help your little sister out, give her a little like, subscribe, comment, anything, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!